Welcome, everybody. Episode 120, Pandemonium reigns. Here's the deal. It was Rivalry week. We have coaches already being hired. We have coaches being fired. Georgia Tech has obviously improved. Missouri continues to stand on business. The game didn't disappoint. The Iron Bowl surely didn't disappoint. Seminoles got the job done. Overall, a pretty good day, from an Orange perspective. There was some close ones, some potential barn burners. We're going to get into it just a little bit, like we always do. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us, for tuning in. The channel continues to grow. You guys are starting to comment more. Some random people, really appreciate that. Actually gotten some love from some Georgia fans. Appreciate that as well. I'll just say thank you for tuning in. And the Bible speaks of dogs and it speaks of volunteers. And the only thing it has to say about dogs is that it returns to their vomit. And Jesus was the greatest volunteer to ever walk the earth. So there's that. Episode 120 is officially underway.
Yes, it is, man. And yeah, what an absolute dandy of a week of football it was. Okay, I know we're about to lead with the game, but 2013 kick six, 2023 4th and 31. I can't wait to see what the 2033 Iron Bowl holds for us if we're, alive and kicking.
I can't. 10 years? You're going to add 10 years to my life? Man, I'm going to be the father of teenagers. I don't know if I can handle this. I mean, one will be potentially on her way out of the house. You need to slow your roll. All right.
I'll slow my roll. Yeah. Absolutely electric week of college football. I just can't believe so much of what we saw. I can believe that Michigan was 6 points better than Ohio State, that they held strong enough to win that game in the end. I can even believe that they did it without their head coach doing anything on the sidelines that day. Just another fantastic vintage iteration of this game, the game.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it. First game underway. Michigan hosted the Buckeyes. Buckeyes are now sitting at 11-1. Wolverines get the dub 30-24. So now Michigan has a 3-game winning streak over the hated Buckeyes. I think what takes the cake is that night, it's either Saturday night or Sunday night, laying in bed, getting ready to shut her down, scrolling through Twitter, and I see this tweet from an Ohio State fan, and he says, "Is this what this feels like? Is this what Michigan fans have been dealing with for all these years? This is miserable." And I'll just tell you on behalf of Tennessee fans, man, it's miserable. It is absolutely miserable to have multiple streaks go against you, especially when it's a bitter rival such as a Florida or an Alabama. But props to Michigan. I just want to say props to Michigan. The sideline goes without Harbaugh. Coach Moore takes over, and he's risky throughout the game, and it pays off. And they've got all this, public scrutiny against them for cheating and the firing of a linebacker coach and all the stuff, all the talk. And they are so honed in to the task at hand. It's extremely impressive at how well they play together, how not distracted they are. You know what? I'm creating a bit of a disdain for Michigan with all the stuff that's surfacing with them. I think for the first time in my life I was like, all right, Ohio State, come on. But I find what they've done, despite being in a negative light, really impressive.
Yeah, dude. I couldn't be more impressed with Michigan. It's just one thing if Harbaugh was coaching and you're just dealing with all the attention and all the talk, all the hate. Mm-hmm. If you were just dealing with that and having your head coach with you, it'd be one thing. But, convince me that Sharon Moore is not going to be a head coach within a couple of years. It would actually surprise me, I think, if this cycle of the carousel unfolded and he didn't have a fairly large job. I don't think he'll leave for just anything. I think he's clearly that type of guy. And maybe maybe this thing ends up taking Harbaugh out of the game one way or the other on his own accord, or not his own accord, and he steps into that role. I could totally see that.
Yeah.
I really like the guy. I really like the emotion. Some of the choice language is funny and off a little bit, but I really like the guy to this point. And I mean, just handle business. They didn't win many individual battles. They won the rushing battle. They won the turnover battle, but they lost the yardage battle. They lost another couple of battles here and there. They did a pretty masterful job. I don't know if you saw the comments that Marvin Harrison Jr. had after the game talking about the types of coverage, the just being bracketed, the things that they were running at him.
Okay.
To take him, to basically keep him from beating you. He's still at 118 yards and a touchdown. And a good friend of mine is just, oohing and eyeing at the catch that he made during that game. One-handed, I believe. I didn't have the game on during the time of that catch. Obviously an outstanding player. Obviously they've had receivers for many years now. They make their own argument for wide receiver U, though I wouldn't give them the nod. And just doing enough, handling business well enough to get out of this game with a third in a row. It will have been 5 years since Ohio State won this game. The next time they play it in 2024 due to the COVID cancellation. That's not something I thought I would see again, really, to be honest with you.
That's fair. Michigan was really bad in 2020. I'd probably take Ohio State in that game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was actually going to get to the numbers as well. There's a couple things that jump off to me. It seems like this game came down to the two McCord picks and Michigan going 3 for 3 on fourth down, which is really impressive. But the thing that jumps out to me is both teams, they're third down. Ohio State was 4 for 9. Michigan was 3 for 12. Not good third down performances. As you said, Michigan out-totaled them by 10 yards. Ohio State out-threw them. Hello, Marvin Harrison. Michigan outran them, but they still only ran for $150 and a little over. And another thing that caught my attention as well was the penalties. Ohio State had one penalty for 5 yards, and Michigan had 3 for a little over.
Yeah, that's a bit to overcome, especially to me. And I know that they made up for it on 3 4th downs, but the 3 for 12 on third down, that's indicative to me of not being able to throw the ball and pick it up when you need to, not being able to get yourself in enough, 3rd and 5 or less to where you can kind of call anything. That's what that's indicative of to me, and just can't really find the words to how impressed I am by that. But super impressive to just flip the tables in what was an ugly streak for them and continue to find ways now. They kind of ran it wide open the last couple of years, and it just wasn't that game this year.
Yeah.
Much tougher win.
Yeah. There's only one thing that I believe would impress me more out of Michigan, and that's if Michigan would had stolen signs despite out of all this scrutiny of stealing signs, that if they'd still found a way to steal the Buckeye signs in being in this limelight, that would be impressive. But I'm going to assume in this situation, since they're under such a microscope at the moment, that they didn't do that, or if they did, the back work had already been done and they were just But from what I saw, I didn't get to see all of it because I had to do a wedding, but I thought Michigan was uber physical. Especially at the line of scrimmage. And it's almost – do you remember the game? We played this when we were kids. It's a 1v1. You interlock your hands, palms up, and the game's called Mercy, and the objective is to overpower, to get the other person to bend their hands back. If you can see me on YouTube, you can get a better idea and visual for what I'm talking about. But it was almost as if even from the get – that Michigan had a bit of a leverage over them, towering over them a little bit, as if we're the new dogs in town. And we're the ones that are about to put on a new streak. And you are the new old us, if that makes sense. So I was impressed with Michigan. McCarthy played well, 16 for 20, $148, so not a lot of yards there, but a score to add on to it. Good for a 94.5 QBR. But Kyle McCord, just want to touch on him just for a second. 18 for 30, not bad at all. 270, 2 touchdowns, good. 2 picks, not good, especially in a game like that. Henderson only gave you 60 yards on 19 touches, but you found Harrison 5 times for $118. And outside of him, it's pretty evenly distributed.
Yeah.
3 catches, Stover 3 catches, Igbuka 3 catches. I think you have to get him more involved. I think he's got to be your second go-to guy, but it was obviously Fleming. And then Henderson 3 catches and Xavier Johnson 1. The game plan for Ohio State seemed to be pretty simple. Get the ball to Harrison. And what's impressive, again, I know we're using that term again, is Michigan's like, that's fine, do it. Watch this.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. And I think it boils down to largely, specifically to your point about the Mercy reference. Michigan is building a vintage roster is what they're doing. I mean, they've clearly done it on the offensive line the last few years with the Joe Moore awards that they've won. I think they're more sound, or they're deeper, they're bigger, and really more spread out talent wise and size wise across the defensive line. Now Ohio State's had their fair share of edge guys that would wreck your entire world, especially in the college game. But on the whole, the trenches, offensively and defensively, they've just done so much. I mean, it's crazy. Another point I wanted to comment on. You talked about how impressed you would be if they had stolen their signs still throughout the deal. Yeah. Did you hear about the pregame flyover?
No. So I'm so mad. People get married in the fall, and it makes me so mad. And then you ask me to do it. Dadgummit.
Should be illegal, 100%. But the pregame flyover was a Boeing P-8 Poseidon, which I challenge you, listener, look this plane up. Boeing P-8 Poseidon. It looks like a commercial. It looks like they flew Delta or United, just flew it over the stadium just to do one. But that plane is a maritime patrol and recon aircraft. It is literally a spy aircraft. They did this, obviously trolling. I mean, you don't just fly over the least impressive looking plane that there is. You're clearly trolling. 10 out of 10 job on that, if so. And I just love everything about this result. I mean, obviously, I would have loved it if they had won 50-24, but I love the result and the way they kind of had to win a tough one in this and get that stop at the end.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds like a petty Jim Harbaugh with the flyover, and I like it. I dig it a lot.
Oh yeah, love it.
Yeah. So I want to end this segment by asking you this: this Michigan team, the one that you saw on Saturday, can that team beat Georgia? Now, keep in mind, I'm asking you about the Michigan that you saw on Saturday.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, Georgia gets up for the big ones.
Yes, they do.
Stupid hard to beat. They don't sleepwalk. Can this team beat Georgia?
I still don't think they do. What we saw Saturday. No explosion.
Will they or will they not? Can they? Do they have it in their abilities?
Yes, they do have it in their abilities. And it would have to be a low-scoring game. And they would have to find – I'm sorry, they can't not be able to run. And that's my fear, that they would not be able to run, or that at maximum they average 4 yards per carry, as they did on Saturday. They're not able to, again, find third and medium or less, obviously. And then, like you just mentioned, Georgia getting up for the big game. Well, let's say it's 4th and 2 in a big game. Who you got to convert, offense or defense?
Oh my gosh, like the Michigan offense versus the Georgia defense?
Yep, who you got? 4th and 2, big national title game.
It's on the line?
Yeah.
I'm going to take
– and it's not over.
The front.
The Georgia front?
Listen, I know all about the Michigan offense and Blake Corum, but Georgia just continues to do it. And so until they don't, I'm going to ride with it.
Yeah. This off topic because we're talking about the game, but we just kind of walked into this. I think if Georgia doesn't lose this Saturday in the SEC championship game, I think the three-peat is on. I'm sorry. That's the way I feel right now.
I think Michigan matches up better than Bama does.
Possibly. I still think you need more explosion in the passing game, and they don't try that. You know what I mean? That right as of right now, they don't try that very often. And we'll see. Harbaugh's going to be back. McCarthy has played better in the games that his head coach has coached, which is not surprising. But I just don't. I'm afraid I don't see it as of right now.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, when you say explosion in the passing game, maybe you're talking about something like Milroe to Bond in the final seconds. Maybe that's what you're getting at. Buckeyes travel to Ann Arbor, take an L on the forehead, 30-24. We're going to take this time to tell you about our friends over at Live Oaks Landscape, commercial and residential lawn maintenance, rental lawn maintenance. He's got everything from weed control and prevention, mosquito and gnat spraying and treatment, landscape design and installation, patio installation, fire pits, paver and flagstone patios, fireplaces, retaining walls, leaf removal, irrigation installation, commercial builds. He does it all, man. Commercial and residential. If you're looking for some lawn maintenance, if you're looking for a new project for your backyard, you want to take your old, boring backyard into something bright and shiny, make sure you call Paul Pruitt over at Live Oaks Landscapes. Give him a call, 678-591-9802. Or you can email him at liveoakslandscapes@gmail.com. It's spelled just like it sounds. liveoakslandscapes@gmail.com. Tell them that the boys over at Pandemonium Reigns sent you. All right, next game up, Alabama at Auburn. The juju in Jordan Hare was absolutely real. But the Crimson Tide walked out with a 27-24 win, and I've strategically planned to talk about this game right after telling you about our brand new sponsor in Live Oaks Landscapes and Paul Pruitt, because Paul Pruitt, he's a Bammer. Thanks for tuning in, Paul. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for being a friend of the podcast. But my gosh, the juju. 4th and 31. This is the play that everybody's talking about. And if you go on Twitter and you search Alabama fan reaction, they're all going, oh, kick six. Now they're going 4th and 31, flexing their Crimson Tide muscles. Here's my thing. If you're Bama, never should have been this close to begin with.
No.
Never should have begin this. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. It should have been this close. I want to open up. You know what? We typically stay away from officiating when it comes to the Tennessee game. It is what it is. You know, we're not going to do that on the Orange Cast, but you know what? We're going to do it here. We're absolutely going to do it here. And I saw several Bama fans, friend of ours, Colton Brown included, talking about how he's all upset, right? You know, Bamas have the refs in their pockets, yada, yada, yada. Listen, you kick off. Batty returns. His helmet gets turned around. He's gone from running true north to continuing to run true north, but his head is facing true south. And they call a hold on the kickoff return team.
Yeah, dude.
They call a hold. So the headquarters for officiating is in Birmingham, correct?
Correct.
You had officials standing in Birmingham, not looking at a screen, not knowing that this game is being played, and they know. Face mask, right? Because it was the face mask, even though it didn't make a sound, heard around the world. How do you miss that? Don't give me that crap. Don't give me that crap. That's such garbage. Yeah, yes, they miss calls all the time. Yes, they're gonna miss holds. They're gonna miss some PIs. It's gonna happen. Slaughter got away with one in the Georgia game, but that you got your head turned around on kickoff. There's not that many people around. It's not like it was hidden or masked, bro.
No, it's not hidden at the trenches like it is sometimes.
Dude.
It was in a group of 3 people, and one got his head turned round.
That is pathetic.
Yeah. It was. You know, quick side note, there's been a deep dive into officiating, how teams like Alabama, Georgia, you know, top-ranked teams, how they are officiated, how it's supposedly not in their favor. I encourage you, all you got to do, just get on your favorite social media brand. You'll see this going around. It's making waves. But yeah, absolutely egregious moment there. I don't understand it. You know, you can call anything but you can't penalize the wrong team for that. And again, in a grouping of three people, and one's got an owl neck situation going on, you can't do that. Totally with you. Alabama never should have been in that spot. Auburn continues to find ways to be in games when they have numbers like this: 93 yards passing on the day, still managing to run for 244. That's the only credit that I have for Hugh Freeze at this time, because you faux rush two men on the 4th and 31 play. You were spying Jalen Milroe on 4th and 31. You have 8 people deep, and you allow Isaiah Bond one-on-one.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought that up. How do you feel about them only rushing? Well, it was rushing only 2, but a lot of people said that only 2 to 3. Some say 3, which it wasn't 3. That, like, they're saying, how stupid? Why would you only rush 3? I want to know your thoughts on that.
Well, here's what I'm doing. Okay, take this, and I'm probably dropping 8 because I want the numbers advantage if they throw one up. I want the numbers advantage there. But if I'm rushing 3, it is the hardest rush that you've brought in your entire life. It is not just because you can see the outside rush. Again, the 2 rushers that Auburn had, probably a little holding going on by the Alabama offensive line, I'm sure, but they're not making any great effort to disrupt Milroe. He literally stands there and he's doing the classic joke that we see anybody joking about throwing a football do. He's standing there bouncing for. I saw the counter on SEC now after the game went off, and I don't remember how long it was. Eternity. He had all day. I'm flushing him. I'm making him move. He is not going to be throwing from a comfortable platform if he's going to throw one up. He's just going to huck one up. Now, granted, when he released that ball, I thought he threw it in the 3rd row. I really did. I thought he'd thrown it out of the stadium, but he's not going to be comfortable. So maybe I rush 4. I'm certainly not bringing any more than that. I'm probably doing the three men in the vicinity like they did, but you're absolutely going to run so hard that you're going to make, you're going to rush, you're going to move him, or you're going to get beat, but you're not going to stand there doing what they did. And you should have, at that point, 8 on 5. So you can't double everyone. Clearly, you can't do that. You're going to double Isaiah Bond, though.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm with you. I'm doing the same thing. I'm not spying him. I'm sending 3, and you got to convince those 3. Listen, you got to create pressure. You cannot let him sit back there. And it was a very poor effort on the rushers. I mean, of course, they thought, it's 2 against 5. Like, what chance do we have? But if you get far enough wide, you can get. Yeah. So I'm not doing that. I'm not spying. I'm rushing 3. And for the most part of your 8, I think I have 3 on the back end of the end zone. One in the corner, one in the middle, one on the other corner, and your other 5 are toes on the goal line. Not toes on the goal line, toes on the goal line, with your eyes on Jalen Milroe. Where does he throw that ball? And if he's ready to take off running, you need to go pursue him, corral him. That could not have been defended any worse. But no. I'm in total agreement with, well, not total agreement. I'm cool with rushing 3.
Sure.
You don't spy it. I mean,
no.
Yes, freak of an athlete, but you're talking about 31 yards that he's going to have to figure out on what is basically a glorified punt return situation, right?
Yeah. You're talking about, it's going to lead to a lot of laterals is what it's going to be. It's not going to be him actually running, most likely for 31 yards with 8 men coming towards him and 3 at that point, leaving their original spot to go chase him. It's going to be a ton of laterals if it's successful, and it's probably not going to be successful. Just watch those plays. They make great entertainment. Look at Georgia at halftime against Tennessee the week before, what they did, putting as many deep on the goal line as they did. Do anything like that. You know what I mean? You can't. That's just, again, I talk about this sometimes, and I think you'll remember it. But goodwill, it only lasts for so long, especially as a coach, before opinions start to change. Yada yada. It doesn't help a single thing that you lost to New Mexico State the week before. Obviously, you would have bought a year's worth of goodwill at least if you win this game, but you lose it in that fashion. This is Butch Jones 2015 losing in that way. Multiple games that year, by the way. That's the format in which you lost it, which is not of Hugh Freeze's character on the field as a coach, and that's peculiar to me that they lost in that way. But you just there's fewer blows of that magnitude that I can even imagine losing in that way on Alabama's last play, and you had the coffin shut. You just didn't get the nail driven through it.
Yeah. And think about how Auburn ended up in that situation, going 5 for 16 through the air. Two of those incompletions being picks.
Yeah.
And you were in that. I mean, until the final 30 seconds, you had a lead. That's larger part because you ran for 244 yards. But again, that's why I say Alabama should have never been in that situation, just because how piss poor that passing game was for Auburn. But let me tell you, we'll end the segment this way. If you're an Auburn fan, if you're Hugh Freeze, okay, first year head coach at a major program, and you say, all right, Hugh, you're gonna finish 6-6 with a 3-point loss to Bama. You're excited.
Yeah.
Period.
Yep.
Tell me I'm wrong. I dare any of you to tell me I'm wrong. You can argue, well, Auburn has high expectations. Yes, you have high expectations, but you don't have the personnel for those expectations. So you're going to
absolutely not
6 with a 3-point loss to Bama. You're going to take that. But what sucks is what you don't know inside of that 6-6 is the New Mexico State loss and how you lost in Jordan-Hare to the hated Tide. That sucks.
It does. And you had a chance to really have a Heupel 2021 and do a lot more than was expected. Granted, with different situations, obviously, no scandal at this moment for Auburn other than the pushback of hiring Hugh Freeze, and you choke it down one step to 6-6. Don't know what the bowl matchup's going to look like, but they lost to New Mexico State, so I'm not going to be terribly optimistic, no matter who it is.
Yeah.
Granted, I know they could probably beat that team in a 6-6 bowl matchup, but yeah, I'm with you. You're going to take that, and it should mean good things for the future, unless he's just, forgotten how to be a successful coach.
Yeah. I think I said I would already end the segment with this, but I'm actually going to add one more. I feel like my mom. She'd be like, "Bye, son. Love you. All right, love you too, mom." And then she comes in with something else like, "No, mom, we already said bye."
Yep.
There's pass interference on that final play. All right, so Bond gets pushed, but he gets pushed into the trajectory of where the ball is.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. If you're going to commit it.
Yeah, tackle him.
Tackle him. Live to play another down with another attempt. Now, it's going to be half the distance of the goal at that point, so 4th and 15. Is that right?
I can't tell when college officials put it at the spot of the foul, which would have been at the 2-yard line, or when they say, hey, you could have had a full 15 yards there. Put it on the 16-yard line. I don't know, but they're all better outcomes. I'm with you.
You're playing another down at least. And maybe we should ask Mark Emmert for clarity on that rule. None of us are ever going to get it. But, dude, tackle him, shank him, pull his pants down, expose him, embarrass him, make him go to the sideline, get ejected.
Yeah.
Do it. Take your helmet off and lunge it at the ball. Like, do whatever you got to do. Don't push him into where the ball is going.
Exactly.
Just pitiful. I was happy for Auburn to be in that situation, and then that happened, and then you could have been 7-5. You're a penalty away potentially from 7-5. Think about that. You're a potential penalty away from being 7-5, beating a hated rival in the Iron Bowl. Nonetheless, Bama goes in the Jordan-Hare. Juju goes on their side. They get a victory, 27-24. Georgia Tech shocks the world. It's the only team in the world ever in history who has shocked the world with a loss. Bulldogs,
ain't that the truth?
Yeah, Bulldogs go into Atlanta, catch a 31-23 win over the 6-6 Yellow Jackets. Listen, man, say what you want to. Brent Key is changing the perspective of that brand. Georgia Tech, from what I saw out of them, now I got a little superstitious on Saturday. I thought I need to turn this off because the more I watch it, the more good things happen for Georgia. So I'm going to turn it off and, we'll see what happens. But what I did see out of them, they're scrappy. They're very scrappy. They've got a lot of fight to them. And you could argue, Georgia played down to the level of their competition, whatever. They kept it vanilla, whatever. I don't care what you say. They had no business being that close. It's like Tennessee had no business playing with Austin Peay, playing with their food. But here we are, 31-23, and Atlanta was buzzing.
Yeah, you could tell that there was a ton of Georgia fans there. Obviously, it's Atlanta. It's the capital of the state. It's, you could tell that there were a lot of Georgia fans making noise anytime that Georgia did anything. But the environment was great, I thought, compared to what it's been for Georgia Tech, compared to how bad and terrible they've been. Let me say this real quick. Have you seen the unfortunate RG3 tweet talking about, what Deion did at Colorado? Have you seen that? It's been
man, I feel
he's been getting crushed for it. I mean, talking about the turnaround for Colorado, and sure, going from 1 win to 4 wins, losing 6 straight to end it, it's been getting crushed. But he had a tweet talking about Deion in Colorado. Nobody's talking about in that same fashion Georgia Tech, South Florida, Arizona, you name it. All the teams that have been in bad to terrible spots that have had great turnarounds, and 6-6 for this Georgia Tech team is a great turnaround. I've seen a lot of complaints about the 2 touchdowns that penalties took off the board for Georgia. Okay, call it 45-23. That is way more than I thought they would do.
Yeah.
I don't care where the game's played. It was at home. I don't care if they played on the moon. 45-23, scoring 23 points. That's more than I thought they were capable of. Kind of some resemblance in a couple ways, not so much on the yardage side, but one resemblance to the Auburn output that they had through the air. You had Haynes King 11 of 20, but he did manage 158 yards on those 11 completions. But again, doing a lot more on the ground than they did through the air, 205 yards with just everybody getting in on that action. And again, I mean, you can make it, you add 1 touchdown, you had 2 touchdowns to 23. And I'm surprised that it was anywhere near that realm, because it was close for much of the game.
I think the game was closer than the scoreboard shows.
I agree with that.
I think what impresses me most out of Tech is how well they ran. I mean, 44 for 205, just shy of 5 yards per carry, and it was basically done amongst 2 guys, Jamal Haynes and Nate Smith. Haynes, who went 15 for 81, and Smith, who went 15 for 68. And the long for Haynes was 23, and the long for Smith was 12, because Tennessee fans are like, well, we ran on them once, one play. So, and you know what? There was no wishbone. There was no wing T. There was none of that stuff. There might have been some boots or reverses, that I didn't see. Matter of fact, I do think that they ran a reverse where they got a gain off of, but that's just impressive to me, man. And so, from the guys at Pandemonium Reigns, applause to Brent Key and Georgia Tech for saving turning around a sinking ship, man. That program was left in absolute shambles, and having to turn the roster around from what was a wishbone wing T, type offense. So a lot of respect for Brent Key. And now you have to wonder if he can continue to sustain this kind of success, even, 7-5, 8-4 next year. Will he stay in Atlanta?
And probably not, unless he finds some of that loyalty that, kind of resembles the loyalty that we're starting to see out of Lanning with Oregon, obviously with much more success in a much more set up job than this one was. I was about to question if it would be with a new quarterback next year for Georgia Tech, but Haynes King is just a sophomore, which shocks me because you had Jeremy Pruitt and Jim Chaney trying to land him at Tennessee for the to be clear. Before his stop at Texas A&M. Yeah. So, God, the eligibility is the weirdest thing. But, yeah, I mean, they're going to be returning their quarterback. They, like you just said, something that's more important than that, the fight and the kind of buzz that they have. I mean, there were some instances where they were finding success around the edges offensively. You know what I mean? That's been the thing that I've criticized teams for trying to do against Georgia, for trying to get to even the line of scrimmage and how hard that.
You criticized us for it.
Absolutely, I did. And to an extent, there was minimal success for Tennessee there. I think you just have to. I think you have to find more success up the middle. But massive credit to Georgia Tech. The SEC championship teams probably couldn't have had worse wins on their way into Atlanta. I wonder if Kirby and Georgia will just stay there since they think their program is located in Atlanta. I wonder. But yeah, I mean, got to be the most shocking result of the week, even though it was a loss as expected.
Yeah, for sure. Props to them, though. Well, Dogs went into Atlanta, got a 31-23 win over the hated Yellow Jackets. Clemson's going to finish their season 8-4, getting a 16-7 win over South Carolina. And here's the only thing I have to say. Let me back away from the microphone. Eat it, piece of crap, Gamecocks and Shane Beamer finishing 5-7. Darn, we don't get to see you getting mayonnaise poured over your head. I'm so done with this guy. I'm done with this guy. I'm sick of it. I am sick of it. I think he's lost a lot of Gamecock fans at this point. 5-7 in year 3, where you I'm pretty sure he went bowling year 1, did he not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so bowling year 1, bowling year 2, 5-7. Here you go, boy. That's not me applauding. That's you getting your cheeks clapped.
That's right. Well said. I love every bit of it. I love every single bit of it. The worst part about this 5-7 result, going bowling in years 1 and 2, but not 3, is that you returned so much firepower.
Yeah.
You went bowling in year 1. Is that the year they were playing like a grad assistant at quarterback for part of the year? Like, just
Doty, right? Doty?
Did they play Doty? Did they? I think
they
played Doty.
I think.
Okay. I was thinking that was the year where they, again, like, were pulling grad assistants and finding magical eligibility for them. Nonetheless, they returned a lot of offensive firepower. Their offense absolutely vanishes down the stretch in a lot of spots. Not going to say I told you so to some extent when you hired a retread, a previous was a tight ends coach as your offensive coordinator in Dowell Loggins. I know that you had injuries, especially along your offensive line, but you didn't do anything to kind of troubleshoot that, to kind of minimize that. The roster was. Are you telling me then that the roster's in a worse spot in year 3 than it was in year 1 when you went bowling?
I mean, potentially, because they got hit by the portal hard coming out of year 2, pretty hard. Guys like Jordan Birch, Jaheim Bell, departed. But I wanted to point out, you're talking about their roster and the firepower they returned. In their defense, seriously, Juice Wells just was absent this year.
That's the one injury that I will say that look, I don't care if you had 0 healthy offensive linemen. That's the one that hurts you the most because of how good he can be.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I'll grant them that one. But the way Leggett exploded onto the scene in his absence, and look, it wasn't Leggett last year; it was Juice Wells. So he kind of replaced that production real time. And I know that there were injuries, but it's odd to me that the depth in roster would be in that much worse of a spot when you were able to find a bowl in your first year coming off of Muschamp. I've heard so many things about what Muschamp will do to a roster, this and that. And I don't think it's what Muschamp will do to a roster. I think it's what South Carolina rosters can look like at times, just to be fair.
Yeah, that's fair. Something that I failed to mention in the beginning is Clemson's only touchdown was defensive.
Yeah.
Fumble, scoop, and score. It was
within the first minute of the game.
Yeah, it was a pass that went backwards that he did not get his hands on, hits the ground, and they all just stare at it. And Clemson defenders like, all right, say less.
Yeah.
Give me that. Puts it in the end zone. So what I'm getting at is Clemson wasn't good. They were not good this night. Cade Klubnik was not good, and the statistics are not even going to reveal how bad he was, and his stats are not good. 15 for 27, 100 yards, 3.7 per completion, and a pick. He was bad. He was bad. He was bad. Phil Maffa, 19 for 89. Will Shipley, 15 for 80. Cade Klubnik, 11 for 52 rushing. They ran well, but he was bad. So if I'm Carolina, at the end of that first quarter, I'm going, he can't do this. 8 in the box. 8 in the box. All times. I want safety over the top, middle, and you know what? We can do man underneath everything else. Yeah. Cover 1, send the house, cover 0. I make him do it because he was not doing it that night. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that it's a terrible adjustment on behalf of South Carolina for not playing aggressive, for not coming after him. And if you did come after him, you just didn't create pressure. So what a shame on them. And it's embarrassing. If I'm South Carolina, I'm embarrassed. I want this dude out. But rumor is you have an athletic director who is not, on the football train. He's not willing to invest the money. So with that, I say, hate it for you, you piece of crap. I cannot stand this guy. He and Eli Drinkwitz are now right at the top for me. So I don't really have much left to say on behalf of South Carolina, other than I'll tell you what, I'll end with this. And if you got anything else, throw it out there. Your best, Shane Beamer and Spencer Rattler's best was hosting Tennessee in 22 and beating Clemson at Clemson in 22. And it turns out you cheated. So tell me what you got. I mean, what have you achieved? The Duke's Mayonnaise Bowl in year 2?
I
got nothing for this guy. What a freaking clown. He's a clown.
Yeah. And look, I don't know if they cheated or if they didn't. It's hard to convince me that they didn't. And if you need more convincing that they did, go look up Spencer Rattler's numbers from the 2 games in question, Tennessee and Clemson 2022, and then look at the other 12 this year, 13 last year, or 11 last year. Go look at the other 20 games, 23 games. Go look at them. Go look at the numbers. Go look at the defensive, the stops that they got. You go look at all of it. Because Rattler in this game was equally as bad as Cade Klubnik. Completion percentage at least 16 for 32, 112 and a pick.
I love it. I love it.
Look, I love it too because I wasn't a fan of Spencer Rattler at Oklahoma. Now he's got some talent in there. He's got absolute issues in there as well. It's crazy to me that you hit Xavier Legette for 68 yards and you only manage 112. If you're that quarterback in that moment, look, in those games that you were successful, you were hitting a bevy of different dudes. You were hitting everybody and their mama for touchdowns for the most part. Where did the production go? Where did the connection go? Where's any of it?
Yeah, I think you make a good point. So in 2 years, 24 games. So you're going to tell me for 22 games, Spencer Rattler's bad, but he all of a sudden figures it out for 2 games? Give me a break. Give me a cotton picking break. So you know what? Spencer Rattler ends his career, his last game in a Gamecock uniform, 16 for 32, $112 and a pick. Now I will say this: I do hate it for 2 guys. I hate it for Mario Anderson. I like this guy. He doesn't run his mouth. He's just kind of nose to the ground. He runs hard. 13 for 35. That sucks. I hate that for him, and I hate it for DeCarrion Joyner. He's a South Carolina.
One more for me.
Yeah, South Carolina.
Go ahead.
South Carolina dude has just kind of stayed the course there. He's going to go out with 1 carry for 5 yards. I'm not even sure if he had no, he didn't have a catch, so that's how his career ends. That sucks because he's an athlete. I think you might see him playing on Sundays. Other than that, I got nothing, man. Maybe Luke Doty, who's
Montero Hardesty. Montero Hardesty. I hate it for Montero Hardesty because he's catching a lot of strays for. Look, he's not been there all 3 years, I don't believe, with Shane Beamer. I think he came last year or the year. Again, I think he came this offseason or last offseason. So I don't think he's been there the entire time. You're not going to pin that running back room on your running back coach. I'm sorry. Recruiting falls on many more people than that. Roster management certainly doesn't fall on that guy.
Assistant coaches recruit regions, not positions.
Exactly. So, give me a break with that. You're in the running for a really good running back right now. Justin Hill, I think is his name.
Yeah.
You're right in there in the mix with Alabama, with Tennessee, with a lot of programs that want it. And let me ask you this: if you're that athletic director, if you're a Gamecock fan, I'm also asking you. You're telling me that you're going to keep Shane Beamer because there's no rumors swirling. There's nothing swirling that he's losing his job off of this effort. Like it would be out of the blue other than, the result. Agreed?
Yeah.
Okay. Next year, and I know we do this often. We may have done it the last time we talked about it. Next year's schedule, conference games at home, LSU, Ole Miss, Missouri.
Oh gosh.
Texas A&M will travel to Columbia, South Carolina. You see a win in those 4?
So this quarterback that they have come and they're really excited about, I will give a maybe and say maybe A&M, but now they're Mike Elko led, so I don't like that matchup.
The defense is probably going to improve.
If you're telling me to put money on it, I'm going to say 0-4.
Okay,
but if you're saying behind the limelight, I'll say all right, A&M.
Yeah, or maybe LSU if they can't replace Daniels, or if
they'll figure it out. They won't throw. They don't need to throw the ball. They're fine. They're fine.
Yeah, okay, agreed.
Clemson didn't. They didn't need to throw it.
I'm with you. Here's their road SEC game.
Sorry, I'm not yelling at you. I'm just making them. I'm so done with Shane Beamer.
I love it, dude. Here's their road games. Vanderbilt got you one. Oklahoma.
Oh God.
Kentucky. And Alabama. Those are your road conference games next year.
I almost like the road games more than I do the home.
Well, I mean, at least I think they could win 2 of them, where I definitely don't think they can win 2 of the home games.
Okay,
now, I'm not saying they're going to beat Kentucky, but they certainly could.
You said Vanderbilt, right?
Yeah, Vanderbilt on the road.
Okay, so Vanderbilt doesn't even have a quarterback on their roster right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oklahoma, so Dylan Gabriel is gone. Jeff Lebby is gone. So there's going to be some turnover there. Maybe depends on when they catch it. Is it early in the season? I don't know. I'm still taking Oklahoma. And then you said Mizzou?
That's a home game for them.
Okay. Well, what was the Bama?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. L. And then what's the last one? Kentucky? Okay, so Kentucky. What is gonna come of the Kentucky locker room as Mark Stoops tries to make his return, from his 15-second trip to College Station. I'll say this in his defense: Dan Mullen pulled it off. Everybody thought he was NFL bound, but then he came back and did what he did. Can it be done? Yes. It's the way in which it was handled by Mark Stoops. Oh, after consideration, I want to be a Wildcat. Lies? God, liar.
Yeah.
So I'm a pastor. I just believe being real with people. Just be real. Like, listen, guys, you know what? I was gone. It didn't work out. I'm not totally heartbroken. You know what? I'm not totally heartbroken. Yes, I was gone. Yes, I was taking it. I would love to stay here and be the head coach. I'm as a man, I'm gonna look you in the eye and say, yes, I was gone, but I'm content to stay. I'm happy to stay. But with that said, you're talking about South Carolina and that situation. I'm going to take the Wildcats. So
100%.
Sucks to be Shane Beamer. I mean, give me 0-8. Give me freaking 0-8. Mike Wright transfers back to Vanderbilt and throws for 400 yards and beats the Gamecocks.
100%.
Because he doesn't win the job under Jeff Lebby. I don't know.
I'm with you, man. I mean, I'm with you. That's a brutal stretch, and you are firing him next year. Why wait? That's my only point. Why wait?
I just hope that we don't jinx it the way we did Drinkwitz. We're like, is Drinkwitz going to survive the year? If freaking Shane Beamer goes like 9-3, 10-2, whatever, like, just
the problem is
the podcast is over.
Yeah, we'll retire. If they go 8-4, we'll hang it up. Agreed?
Deal.
Okay. The issue is they'd have to portal in a lot of offensive linemen, and that is the hardest position to hit, in my opinion.
If you're basing that off of how Tennessee's done it, then yeah, I'll give you that. But
it's more so that everybody wants an offensive lineman,
and
good luck landing 3 or 4 or 5 of them, however many you need, if you don't have the young guys ready. And I don't believe they do.
I'll end the segment this way. If you fire Beamer, who's your first call? Give me one name and let's close it.
It would have been Elko, but it's too late. So, gosh, I guess this is why you don't do it. Go ahead if you have yours. I'm thinking.
You call Jamie Chadwell.
There you go. That's it. That's it. Absolutely, that's it.
You call Chadwell.
It's so silly to me that he's not found a bigger gig, whatever dirt there is on him. But yeah, that's the move. Yeah.
You call Jamie Chadwell. Gamecock fans, call Jamie Chadwell because you know who you're not calling? A bowl. Clemson goes into Columbia, South Carolina, gets a win, 16-7, and does everybody, including the Gamecocks, a favor. Last game of the day, we're going to squeeze it in right here. We would usually do an orange cast, but considering the circumstances, the 8-4 circumstances, Tennessee hosts Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt comes ready to fight, loses 24-48. There's a ton of conversation here, and we could get lost on the little things about the potential sack totals for Pierce, Vanderbilt emptying their bench. I'll just say this. I'm glad Joe got to play as long as he did. I'm glad he had a day. I'm glad a lot of our seniors had a day, including Ramel Keaton. You need to let Joe play the bowl game. You know what? He wasn't Hendon. I think people said they didn't expect him to be Hendon, but they placed Hendon expectations on him subconsciously. The guy has been faithful to the university since his arrival. He lost the job. He's done all the right things. He's said all the right things. I think he's been a man of character in his time here. He's had fun with it. You know what? You pissed me off after the Florida game, but Joe, thank you. You're a VFL dude. Appreciate it. I know that you're never going to hear this because who are we? But I hope you go into this bowl game and I hope you get the chance to throw 6 scores and no picks and 400 yards and you have a long NFL career, man.
Yeah. I hope that he has I hope he has such a successful bowl game that he does end up, taking his seat somewhere in the third or fourth quarter. That's the way I want it to go for him. I've got minor issues about the Nico handling and just situations where he could have played this year. I'm not going to say fire a coach or, oh my God, what is Heupel thinking or any of that stuff. I am jacked for the seniors. They had a very nice senior day. It's always nice for Tennessee. You don't have the game or the Iron Bowl if you're Tennessee because Vanderbilt's never going to be that again. They're never going to be their success of 100 years ago. It's not going to happen. So it's nice to have a stress-free senior day when, Tennessee's handling business. Obviously, they've lost the game a few too many times, but happy for everyone on the team. I mean, the tight ends, that they had a big day, including a touchdown for Warren. Joe, obviously stoked. Jalen Wright did enough to get himself 1,000 yards. I'm shocked that it comes in year 3 when the offensive line started the year the way that it did. That is Heupel's first 1,000-yard rusher at Tennessee. Not surprised at all that it's Jalen Wright. And by all indications, the work that he put in leading into the season, how good he looks week in and week out. He is set right now to enter the league with probably the least amount of mileage for any running back that gets picked, in my opinion.
Fair enough.
And I think all those things
considering the context of accomplishment as far as yards go and whatnot. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a great point. Yeah.
The carries, the hits, the mileage, just sheer yardage numbers. I think that all sets up well for him. We don't talk about it this way, but it sets up for the way that Alvin Kamara entered the league with not getting the number of touches that he needed. And that's probably true for Jalen too, but it obviously was in this case being split between 3 guys and not just 2. And, wasn't handicapping your offense straight up like it was in 2016 and 15.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's a great point. I also wanted to touch on Jalen Wright and celebrate his accomplishments for going over 1,000. The one small narrative that I wanted to get into was Dylan Sampson, and a lot of people are upset with the handling of Dylan Sampson. I want to get into that, and I wanted to get into Joe and Nico. So let me make 2 points, and you kind of tell me what you think.
Okay.
Fans are upset with the handling of Dylan, and they're upset with the handling of Nico. All right. Coming out of this game, if we're solely looking at Vanderbilt, Dylan had one less carry than Jalen. Had one less touch. One less touch. Okay, so maybe those don't go to Jabari Small for health or other reasons, whatever. One less touch. And he just didn't do what Jalen did. I mean, you had 10 carries for 37 as opposed to 11 for 75.
Yeah.
And one of your carries was 9 yards. So all the other ones were not really good, man. Unless it's, what Butch Jones would call a what did he call a 4-yard carry? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I do, but I can't remember.
Anyway, so take with that what you will. And if he's messing around with the fan base on Instagram and social media, dude, you have no idea what bear you're poking. You need to chill out. So I would just say it to the fans, like he had one less touch. What more do you want? Jalen Wright went for 1,000. Are you going to take those carries away from him? No, he's obviously RB1. Leave it alone.
And not only did he go for 1,000, he went for 1,000 on just 50 more carries. Just 50.
Compared to Dylan?
Yeah, just 50. Sampson had 86. Wright had 137. 51 carries and 530 or so less yards. 10 less yards per carry, if you will. The only thing he benefited from on these carries is the touchdown number. It's nice. He got the treatment when Jabari or Jalen tap their helmet. He comes in around the 20.
Wow. So there you go. That's a great stat that illuminates a lot. And I think I haven't seen the numbers, but I'm guessing that he's got a good amount more than Jabari.
No, he does actually have 9 less than Jabari.
Whoa. Okay. Well,
Jabari. So it goes like this.
Idiot.
It goes 137 for Jalen, 95 for Small, 86 for Sampson. And he did a little bit more per carry. He did a half yard more per carry than Small did, but they both did 2 yards less per carry than Jalen Wright did.
Okay. All right. Well, fair enough. Well, let me move on to Nico and Joe then, since I've been proved wrong right there.
I got one more thing before we go real quick.
Go ahead.
Just sheerly talking about Sampson and his usage. Now, I think the dip in usage after Kentucky, that's weird to me because he wins you that game when Jalen can't go in the second half. He wins you. He does enough for the offense to move the ball up and down the field. That's the only thing I have. That's my only issue.
I'm not going to say he won that game because, yes, that game, that drive solidified things, but that drive didn't win the game. There's a lot more fair in that context. There's a ton more in that context. His drive was outstanding. Okay,
Kamara.
That solidified it. Yes, but I'm not going to say that won the game by any stretch.
That was just a lead in for me. I'm with you. That's fair.
Okay,
it solidified the win for you. It didn't win it for you.
Gotcha.
Now you want to talk about him receiving. Okay, he has the same number of receptions as Chaz Nimrod. He has more than Jacob Warren. Due to Brew's injury, he's got the same number of catches as Brew McCoy, slightly less than Jalen, McAllen Castles, about half the number of Ramel Keaton, similar yardage as all of those guys because, you're catching it on a check down or what have you. Still found the end zone through the air, obviously, back in the Virginia game. But there's not much of a bone to pick there. The guys actually should like the mileage and being low. I'm talking about the players themselves, not only the league when the time comes, if it does, but this is clearly an NIL ploy. This is all it is. I think this is what the game is in 2022.
Maybe, and that sucks if it is.
Yep.
Nico and Joe. So a lot of people are upset with Nico didn't get enough. Yada yada yada. Can Heupel manage a quarterback room? Yada yada yada. He was going to start Joe in 21, yada, yada, yada. Let's compare that. Let's compare Hendon and Joe 2021 and Joe and Nico 2023. Not the same. Joe and Hendon both come in the offseason going into the 21 season. Heupel is brand new. To Tennessee. He's brand new to Tennessee, not a brand new head coach. I have a little bit more grace on Joe winning that job under Heupel. We've talked about maybe Hendon not being a practice player, whatever. Once Hendon got the job, there was no turning around and looking back at Joe on Heupel's part. I'll tell you that much at least. And now you go to 2023, Joe and Nico. Joe's been there for how long? He knows the system how well. He's got what kind of a relationship with Heupel. But Nico's got $8 million. Shut up. Maybe he doesn't know the playbook. Maybe he doesn't have. Has he been working with the ones the way Joe has? Probably not. There's so many factors. I just can't stand the people who think that this is Madden. Just swap the depth chart and everything. It doesn't work this way. There is a chemistry that is built between Q's and center, Q's and offensive line as a unit, Q's and receiving core, Q's in backfield on timing and so many different things. You know what? There is a bit of a risk when you make a quarterback change. Should he have played more than he had? Yes. Why play Gaston? I don't get it. Are you just trying to be kind to Gaston? Are you trying to show that you really are faithful to the individuals that make up the team? But there's no comparison between Nico and Joe. Nico, the time that he got, even though it was extremely limited, and he got most of it against Vanderbilt, if I'm wrong, didn't really do anything. I mean, he had a broke tackle where he converted it to a first down, but you know what? You're assuming that Nico knows all the things that Joe knows, and he doesn't. He doesn't. You're assuming that he's got the same relationship and chemistry, and he doesn't. So it's just not a fair comparison to go back and say Hendon Joe 21, Nico Joe 23.
I am more than with you. I'm just basically the same. I just wish I saw more early. No, okay, I can't say earlier. And it's hard to ask for more with the first team offensive line because the first team offensive line was a rotating five later in the season when health really came into play, when John Campbell was banged up, when Gerald Mincy has been playing through injury.
Dude, that's another point.
I saw Cooper Mays leave the game Saturday.
Yeah, that's another point. It's not. He's not even. He's working with a hodgepodge offensive line. Do you want him to get broken?
And that's the thing. When you saw him against Virginia, that's probably maybe the cleanest group that he got to play with. I don't really remember. You saw him against UTSA; they could barely keep anybody off of him. UConn, he got a drive, 2 drives. I don't even know, they were so bad. And then you saw against Vanderbilt, and I'm with you. That's the most that we saw of him probably. Because it was an entire quarter minus the last 2 plays of the game. I don't know. 3 plays of the game. Yeah, look, it's all good. I don't think he gave you the best chance to win. The only thing you'd have been doing is getting him ready for 2024, which is needed and is fair. But you now have 15 bowl practices. You've got 15 spring practices. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then you've got a full month starting in August, ending with another practice against UT Chattanooga to get him ready for the 24 season. You probably need to find here's an impossible task for you. Go find a transfer that is okay with probably being his backup, probably never taking first team reps. You're asking someone to be Joe Milton 2022 is what you're asking someone to do. Yeah. And you're probably not going to find somebody that's as good as he was for you in 2022 garbage time. As solid as above average as he's been in 2023. Mm-hmm. Good luck finding someone to be that guy so that if Nico does get hurt or whatever, you're going to be entering Gaston Moore. If he's here, Jake Merklinger as a true freshman, that's what you're going to be doing. Impossible task. I don't think you can do that. It's going to be somebody like Keller Christ at best, except he was competing for the job. That was the
name that came to my mind. Yeah.
He was competing for the job, and he got time with the job. I mean, just good luck doing that. The thing is, like I just said, it's all hands on deck every single minute. In my mind, including the bowl practices, even though Joe will be starting that game, is all going to be about 2024 going forward. And like I just said, week 1 included, where you get to get ready for NC State because you're going to be playing UTC.
Right. Right. And last thing, and we'll end the segment. You're assuming that, hang on, from this point, he's going to be able to preserve his red shirt. And then people are saying, well, he's only going to be here 3 years anyway. No, that's an assumption. That is an assumption. You're assuming he's going to live up to this $8 million deal. You're assuming he's going to live up to a 5-star status. You know what? He might just be good enough to be the starter, but not good enough to get a good draft grade come post 2027, whatever it is. So you know what? You don't know everything, y'all. You don't know. You're assuming you do, but you don't. So do I think he's going to be good? Yes. Is he going to be elite? Man, who knows?
Hope so.
Hope so. Hey, but nonetheless, little brother came to town and we whipped that tail. Something to like, I'm not even like looking at the school score anymore. 56-24. All big orange. All right, y'all. That's going to bring us to the end of the show. The rants are officially over. I feel like I don't have to hear the voice of Shane Beamer for at least another 6 months until SEC Media Days rolls around. The Nico Joe conversation is soon about to be over. Props to Joe. Props to those guys. A couple things on our way out the door. Washington played with their food against the Cougars 21-24, and North Carolina continues to disappoint. Yes, NC State is not a bad team, but you lost by 19. And then the battle of the backup quarterback in the Sunshine State, Florida State gets a win over the hated Gators. Will that be enough to solidify a playoff spot for the Seminoles? Probably not. Depends on what Washington and Oregon and all that. How wow, I can't talk today. And how that unfolds. But if they can beat Louisville, which is now going to be a tall task for them. It's going to be a tall task for them.
Yep.
Hey, but Kentucky did it.
Anybody can do it, right?
Anybody can do it, right? On a stoops less Kentucky.
Love it.
At that moment in time.
Love it.
The world just didn't know yet. Hey, we appreciate you guys hanging out, listening to us, letting us tickle your ears. We appreciate it so much. And we really appreciate the comments and the engagement that we're getting from you guys. Even if your comment sucks, post it. We would love to get back to you. We've had some Dog fan interactions. We've had some Tide fan interactions. So keep it up. Let's get some more Tennessee interactions. That would be preferred. Just like the bride of Christ should be united, the orange bride should be united. We thank you guys so much for hanging out. This is Pandemonium Reigns. I'm Dan. He's Mike. God bless. Go Vols.
GBO.
Pandemonium Reigns.